Welcome in, everyone. Episode number 3 of the 300 Section Sports Podcast. We are a man down today, but I'm still here with Casey. I know he's always got my back. Colin is gone in Ireland. So, because of time zones, it is, what time is it? Probably 2:30 in the morning there. So he's not joining us today. But that's fine because Casey and I have a lot to say about the sports happenings of the week and 2 days because we recorded early last time. So, Casey, how you doing?
I am doing great. I am definitely ready to talk about how badly I predicted both series we're going to be talking about. So,
yeah, well, I
definitely ready to talk about that.
I can't wait to brag about the opposite. All right. So on today's docket, the Stanley Cup Finals ended last night. The NBA Finals ended 2 nights ago. We're also going to talk a little bit about the first few group stage games of the World Cup. So really excited to get into it today. Before we begin our show, I want to give a plug to our Instagram. It's the same as our YouTube at 300 Section Sports Podcast. Go follow us there. You upload in posts and reels all the time. It's a good way to stay engaged with the show because we upload our best moments there. And this past week, we made a post about our World Cup draft that we did on last week's episode. If you haven't seen that, you should go check it out because I had a really good time doing that. And I know you did as well, Casey, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to skip trivia for this week just because Colin isn't here. And we felt that giving only one person a chance at trivia wouldn't be too fair, especially since Casey's already up 1 point on all of us. So we're going to skip trivia this week, but we'll be back at it next week. But we are going to continue our random sports picks segment because Colin has sent in his pick. And as you all know, Colin and I, huge Tampa Bay area sports fans. Casey is on the other coast. He's a Los Angeles fan. And in the MLB this week, Casey's beloved Dodgers will be taking on my Tampa Bay Rays starting. This episode is being recorded on Monday. At the time of this recording, first pitch is in less than a half an hour. So 3-game series, Monday through Wednesday in Los Angeles. Their one and only matchup of the season. And we are going to be submitting our predictions for that series. So, we're kind of just touting party lines here with this one. But I'll go for Colin's first. Colin has predicted the Rays to win the series, unsurprisingly. Casey, who did you predict?
I chose the Dodgers.
And I chose the Rays. Yeah.
I do think, though, it's going to be a very close game series, only because how unconfident I am with the Dodgers and Kyle Tucker and how the Rays have been doing. I don't like Kyle Tucker. Nope. I'm okay.
You paid him $200 million. You better like him. That's more than the Rays' whole payroll. By a lot.
But yeah, I think it'll end up 2-1 Dodgers.
Yeah. I'm going Rays sweep. Little David versus Goliath matchup, Rays versus Dodgers. But both are doing well. They're both at 40+ wins.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
Yeah. So, the power of friendship over here in Tampa Bay. It's working out for now. We'll see when it comes to October. But
Velati and friends.
Oh my gosh. Dude, that guy's actually good. I like Velati. Yeah. I don't know where he came from. He just spawned on the team this year, but hey, he's batting well right now. He's in the upper 200s batting average, so good for him. All right. You want to talk about the NBA?
I guess.
Yeah? All right. Well, then we're going to talk about the NBA ending on Saturday night. The New York Knicks are NBA champions for the first time in 53 years, for the first time since 1973. Throughout the playoffs, they went an impressive 16-3. Only lost 3 games through 4 playoff rounds. 2 of those rounds were sweeps in the second and third round against the Philadelphia 76ers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. They beat the San Antonio Spurs in 5 games in San Antonio. Jalen Brunson scored 45 points in the series clinching game, Game 5, and was awarded Finals MVP for it. So, I didn't prepare you for this question, Casey, but I know we both said that we thought Cat was leading the MVP race for the finals last episode. Now, granted, that was 9 days ago. Do you think now, as the series came to a conclusion, that Jalen Brunson was the right pick?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the way he's playing the whole series. I mean, yeah, Cat played like incredible, but I think Brunson finishing out the series with how many points did he end up with?
He had 45 points in Game 5.
Exactly. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how else to put it. Like, he is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Cat was leading it, maybe about tied for a while, I think. But 45 points to 2 points. Now, granted, Cat was playing defensive work in that Game 5, and he ended up fouling out with a few minutes left. So a little bit of an asterisk there, but still 45 points to 2 points. It's significant. I think Jalen Brunson was the right answer. The king of New York City. Fun fact, Jalen Brunson, he is now tied for the most points scored in an NBA Finals series clinching game, tied with Michael Jordan with 45 points. So that's pretty impressive. That's good company.
Very impressive, yeah.
Yeah, not bad company at all. All right, so before we talk about the Knicks and this historic run ending a 53-year drought, let's talk about the Spurs. Casey, what do you think went wrong for the Spurs in this series? They took down the defending champs in the Western Conference Finals, and in the blink of an eye, they had lost the NBA Finals to the New York Knicks. What happened to them?
Honestly, I think it was just the blown leads. Like, when they had a lead up, like against the Thunder, they kept it and rode it all the way through. But then against the Knicks, they wanted to have the worst choke in an NBA Finals game.
29 points.
And then gave that up. But yeah, unfortunately, though, I think they seem like a team to let up. They just seem like a bunch of cocky players, especially when
I think
his courtside
publicity. Oh, sorry.
Sure to me. And yeah, just a combination of those, I feel like that's how it went wrong for the Spurs. Yeah,
I'm totally in agreement. I mean, I was thinking too, they weren't able to close out the games. 29 points. You can't allow that comeback in a finals game, especially when the series is already 2-1. You have a chance to tie it up going back to San Antonio after you lost the first 2 at home. And you allow that to happen. And since we kind of had the same answer, I'll elaborate. It's so interesting to me that Victor Wembanyama was the darling of the NBA for the first 3 rounds of this series, and it feels like in 5 games, everyone outside of San Antonio and France has turned against him. It's kind of odd, and I think a lot of it is this series. He got more publicity than he's ever had in his career, and it was the complaining on the court was apparent. The flopping really was egregious from him. And at 7'5", you have little to no excuse to be flopping in that way.
Exactly. Yep.
Especially when in the big moments you're matched up against 6 foot Jalen Brunson. So
literally.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and talk about the New York Knicks. This impressive championship team, Knicks in 5. We've all heard the poems, the little rhymes that go with Knicks in 5. But my question for you, Casey, is what do we think this championship means for the future of the NBA? This Knicks team makes 8 different NBA champions in 8 consecutive years, dating all the way back to 2019 with the Toronto Raptors. And so clearly parity is at an all-time high in the NBA. So is the strategy of spending all of your draft picks in trades? They acquired Mikal Bridges for, what was it, 4 first-round draft picks? Something unbelievable at the time of the trade,
I
right?
think it was that much. Shoot, now that I'm thinking about it, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, really, they gave up more for him than they gave up for Cat. But
yeah,
anyways, draft or spent all those draft picks on him, and you combine that with a player taking a hometown discount in Jalen Brunson, forfeiting over $100 million worth of money over the duration of the contract that he signed, so that the Knicks were able to do this. They were able to bring in Cat. They were able to bring in Bridges. They were able to bring in all these guys that they could build a competitive roster around. And so, is this possibly the new premier strategy in the NBA? Because I think it's kind of a first-time thing where you've seen players take pay cuts like this or a team be constructed like this. Do you think teams are going to try to emulate that?
No, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen because when I think of an NBA player, I think of selfish. And Jalen Brunson is not like that guy. He is a good, great team player. That's why he got Finals MVP, or a big reason why he got Finals MVP. And I don't know, someone like Wemby or Shy, they're gonna try getting those big contracts because they want that money. I mean, if I had that talent, I would want that money also. But but the Knicks taking that different approach, I just don't see it happening with other teams. Maybe like a lower class team that's trying to rebuild, like, for their franchise. But any of the bigger teams that are going for that championship run, they're not going to do it the way the Knicks are.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of different strategies that these teams can use now. Like we just saw the Thunder this past year. They acquired all of those first round draft picks. They acquired Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think it's really interesting. I think it's good for the NBA that it's not just a pay to win league anymore in the way that it was. I don't want to say the Golden State Warriors championships were pay to win because they weren't. Those teams were great, and a lot of those players were homegrown.
Right.
But at the same time, we're seeing a difference in the NBA from the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, to where you have teams who are competitive every year. I mean, we saw the Indiana Pacers make the NBA Finals last year, and they missed the playoffs this year. And obviously, there were some extenuating circumstances, but an NBA team making the finals and then not making the playoffs is something that's kind of uncharted territory. The thought that almost any team could go in and win the NBA Finals any given year, I think is really good for the NBA, especially with how much they've struggled over the past several years with discussions about officiating. So I think that the way that NBA teams, general managers are organizing themselves, I think it's really good for the NBA.
I like that take.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, we are going to talk about the Spurs one more time, but we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Let's finish up our discussion on the Spurs. Casey, my final question to you about this finals is, I think that this Spurs team was really good this year, and I think they will continue to be good for the next several years, if not the length of a decade or more. What do they need to do to run it back next year in 2027? And I think that this finals is going to be a stain on Victor Wembanyama's legacy, the same way that the first finals LeBron James went to is somewhat of a stain on his legacy. What can Wembanyama do to make sure that is more of a blip on his legacy than anything else, the same way that LeBron has kind of done?
Yeah, well, starting with the Spurs, like overall, like you said, they were a very good team. So with that in mind, like I think they just need to retain that roster because that roster is full of great players. I just don't think they showed their full potential. Like, I think it was Castle that went like 0 for 6 before he actually got a shot in, or it was Champagne.
Yeah, and
I get those two mixed.
But he had made in Game 5, Castle had made only one field goal through well into the fourth quarter.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. And I think they just also really need to utilize their players like well. Like Dylan Harper was like a big surprise in like how well he did in that final series, and I think
Good shout out by
they
you
took
too,
him out.
Shakir.
They took him out quite a bit of times, and they weren't looking to him to shoot the ball as much. So yeah, retain that roster and keep developing as a team, and I think they should make it to the finals again. Prediction. And for Wemby, I think he just needs to as like the Spurs team, I think he just needs to develop as a player, like mature, get into that like captain role. Like, of course, we see him already as the captain of the team, but there's a difference between a captain and a leader is gonna help their teams find a way through blimps and be able to succeed.
Adversity.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that. A captain is not necessarily a leader. Well, Jalen Brunson is both, but yeah. And I agree. I don't think the Spurs need to do too much. I think the roster as it is very good. I think in this finals, in this 5-game stretch, especially De'Aaron Fox, who was brought in from the Kings to be the veteran presence on this team, to be the anchor at the point guard spot. In my opinion, he didn't have a single good game the whole series. And games 4 and 5 especially were terrible. He had that game-losing turnover in game 4 where he allowed that 29-point comeback to happen. And when you are the veteran presence on that team, such a young team especially, you can't allow that to happen. And I think a lot of it goes back to Wemby. I think it's important to remember he's only 22 years old. He's only been in the NBA for 3 years now. And I think there's a lot of maturing to do on his end. I think a lot of basketball is how you compose yourself on the court, and I think he did a particularly poor job of that. Is just being completely honest. But I think that the Spurs team will continue to grow, and they'll be better going forward. I think they'll be back within the next 2-3 years. If you tell me the Spurs team hasn't won the NBA Finals, I'd be really surprised, because I think this is the worst version of the Spurs that we're going to see for quite a few years. But let's just continue the NBA talk a little bit. We talked about how they have a lot of great talent on the roster already, and they might not need to do too much in the offseason, but you have one more year before you have to pay Victor Wembanyama. And I think that's something that could bring up an interesting point of conversation as a potential landing spot for this guy. There's been a lot of rumors about LeBron James playing outside of Los Angeles next season, leaving the Lakers if he doesn't end up retiring. And I want to ask, do you think there's any validity to this rumor of him leaving the Lakers? And if so, where do you think he could end up playing next season? Could be the Spurs.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't think he is going to leave LA. I think he's built so much in LA. Like, it just seems like he's orchestrating everything, whoever goes in and out. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but it just seems like he's the guy in charge at LA. And one thing that, like, he's at an age where, like, he's very close to retiring. I really don't want him to retire, because he is, like,
it could be
one of the best. It really could. But if he does leave for another team just to grab one more ring, he's gonna lose a little bit. I'm gonna lose a little bit of respect for him just for leaving the team.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know. Just a little bit. Of all of his tenures with a team in a single run, obviously he spent more years with the Cavaliers total, but he's been there since 29. So he's been 7 years with the Lakers now. That's his longest individual stint with a team. I think he's brought a championship to the team, to the city. I think he's given the Lakers about as much as he can offer at his age.
Fair. But, like, if he retires after grabbing one more ring, I don't know. I just don't. There's a sense of like respect for like the team you've already been to. I don't know. That was my thought process on it.
No, I kind of see where you're coming from. I just kind of thinking at it from a different perspective of he's already done this in his career where he's left the Cavaliers for the Heat.
Yeah, okay.
And that paid dividends. No one looked down upon him for leaving that terrible situation in Cleveland to go ring chasing in Miami with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised. My take is I wouldn't be surprised to see him leave the Lakers next year. I think most likely if he plays, he'll play for the Lakers. But I think he's been outspoken about how much he loves Steve Kerr and Steph Curry and playing with them in the Olympics 2 years ago. I think the Warriors could be a destination for him. I think, if he wants to sign a 1-year deal with the Spurs, I think that could very well be a landing spot, just considering, that they have the money to do it right now. And then once the year is over, that'll be it. And Wemby and LeBron James on the same court, they'd be finals favorites by a long shot. And I think I'm going to go back-to-back finals teams from this past year. I think he could end up on the Knicks next year, just because, like I said, Jalen Brunson gave up a large chunk of salary to go play there. Mm-hmm. LeBron could do the same to go play in New York. If you leave the team the same and you add LeBron James to it, that team only gets better, and they just won the finals. So why couldn't they do it again with LeBron James? That's just my thought process.
Yeah. One little thing to add: I am a big Dylan Harper fan now. So if LeBron wants to go to the Spurs, is he like he can sign with anyone, or does he have to be traded?
Well, I think he's an unrestricted free agent, but they could do a sign and trade in the sense that he could bypass free agency entirely, and a team could give up some sort of asset to make sure that no one else has a chance at him.
Dylan Harper to LA.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but
probably not. But I'll still be a big Dylan Harper fan.
Yeah, there you go. You'll probably see him back in the finals. So
yeah,
in a few years, if not next year. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next final series that's over. Man, this is our last time talking about the finals. We're only 3 shows in, and now we don't have anything but baseball in the World Cup until August. But oh man. Anyways. The Carolina Hurricanes, for the first time since 2006, 20 years ago, are Stanley Cup champions after posting a 3-0 shutout in Game 6, courtesy of some spectacular goaltending by Brandon Bussey, rookie goaltender Brandon Bussey. They like the Knicks when it combines 16-3 in the playoffs, and say what you will, this is my opinion. I think that's exponentially more impressive in the NHL than in the NBA. Mm-hmm. You're welcome to disagree, but that's just my opinion. They swept the first 2 rounds against Ottawa, then Philadelphia, dropped the first game to Montreal, handled them, and then, looked a little shaky at the start against Vegas and then just ran away with it. So Jordan Staal becomes the oldest player in NHL history to win the Conn Smythe Trophy after he just scored 6 goals in 6 games during the finals, and Mitch Marner ends the Stanley Cup playoffs as the NHL's leading point scorer. So, Casey, my question for you is it fair to argue, I'm not saying they are, but is it fair to argue that this Carolina Hurricanes Stanley Cup run is the most dominant of all time?
Yeah, definitely. They're definitely in the conversation. 16-3 record is the best in the Stanley Cup playoffs since the Edmonton Oilers went 16-2 in 1988. And that Oilers team featured a bunch of Hall of Famers in Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Jerry Curry. Sorry.
You're good.
I'll lock in next time on that. But yeah, like bunch of Hall of Famers from that team, and when you look at the Hurricanes, like they are a very well-rounded team, but comparing to the Oilers, I think they did a very like a better job in dominating in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree, and I think I kind of wanted to make the same point as you, really, that you look at a team with Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier versus. I don't think that, and you could say Andrei Svechnikov is a superstar in the NHL. You could make that argument. You could say that of Sebastian Aho, but I don't think. I mean, clearly they're not to the same level of elite talent in the NHL that Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier were in the '80s and the '90s. And so I think in comparing them to that team, they lack the star power. And going back, that this is the first time in the salary cap era where a team has had this record in the playoffs. I think that's especially notable. And they operated $11 million under the cap. So I think that's especially impressive. So while I do think that I agree with you, they're not more dominant than the Edmonton Oilers were in 1988. They deserve a seat at the table for the context surrounding the state of the NHL as it currently is. So, follow-up question. Given the fact that they are $11 million, or they operated $11 million under the cap this season, the cap space is expanding to over $100 million this season for the first time. So they're going to have plenty of money to spend. Do you think that this team is the most poised to run it back in the NHL?
Yeah, I do believe they're going to run it back. I mean, I've been only watching hockey this season, thanks to Grady and Colin.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But yeah, they just look like the best overall team in that NHL playoffs. And since they got the money, like you said, I think they could grab one more player. Like they were giving up quite a bit of goals in each Stanley Cup Finals games, but maybe adding another defender with that money could lead to maybe even a more like they could be brought into the conversation of a better dominant run in the
next
playoffs history. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, speaking of defenders, I ducked it. Darren Radish, Lightning, resign him, please. But yeah, no, I agree. I think there's all this talk right now around the NHL. Oh, the Florida Panthers are going to be back better than ever. They're coming off a full season of rest and recovery. I think that team is going to be really good. I think that team will likely win the Atlantic Division, much to my dismay, but they probably will. I think that this Canes team is set up so masterfully. The general manager work there is, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and that's going to frustrate me. But the general manager there is incredible. What he did with, having the guts to trade for Mikko Rantanen last season, have Mikko Rantanen come into the building and tell the head coach, I do not want to be here. I do not want to be a Carolina Hurricane. And hearing that immediately after you trade for a superstar has got to be kind of a shock. Saying, I will not re-sign with Carolina. In the last minutes of the trade deadline, you work out sending him to Dallas. And in return, you get Logan Stankoven, who's fine, but you're like, we got Logan Stankoven. I mean, they had Marty Necas, upgraded to Rantanen, and then downgraded back to Stankoven. But is that even a downgrade now after this Cup Finals run that Stankoven had? And he had a first-round picks in that, not just to keep adding to it. I think that's incredible GM work. And so, yeah, I think that this Canes team will be better next season, just considering how much money they have to spend. They have so many guys on cheap deals. Jackson Blake is signed to such a cheap deal. He led the team in points in the playoffs by the time it was all said and done. Brandon Bussey he's making what, $3-4 million over the course of this contract that he signed. He might, if he was on the open market this offseason, which he would have been if he hadn't already signed, if he was on the open market, there might have been a team, Edmonton might have paid him $10 million a year to go, but he's not even making anywhere near that of the duration of a contract for for the Canes now. So they've set themselves up so well. I think that this team will likely repeat.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Brandon Bussey, leading to our next question that I'll ask you.
Yeah, you go for it. I like it.
Yeah. So, with that being said, with the goalies, who do you think was the more impressive goaltender during the playoffs? Frederik Andersen or Brandon Bussey?
All right. So this is a question that I was hoping you were going to answer first, but I'm gonna take it head on. I'm gonna say Freddie Andersen is more impressive, just because he did play those 4-8-5-3. So, he played 16 games. And he lost 2 of them, 3 of them. That's impressive. And he's doing it at an age where everyone had written him off. When he left Toronto, it was kind of a done deal on Andersen, and then he came and played this, and he had a really rough regular season, and he played this well in the playoffs. I think doing that for as long as he did, contributing to shutout after shutout in sweep after sweep of the first 2 rounds. They got kind of exposed in game 1 of the East Conference Finals, and then he was locked down from then on. I think him doing it at the age that he did is really a testament overall to how good the Carolina Hurricanes were. But especially for him, I think that he played amazing. It's a shame that they went ahead and replaced him, because it would have been nice to see him, fulfill this Hurricanes Cup dream. And obviously he did. He's a Cup champion. They gave him the Stanley Cup right after Stahl. But I think for him, it's just overall really impressive. And yeah, for Bussey to come in game 3 when they were down so much and to help them come back, and they ended up losing that game in overtime, but to get the starting nod for the next 3 games and eventually go 3-0 and finish with a shutout as a rookie RFA coming from Florida, or not RFA, waivers coming from Florida. Also very impressive. I think you can make an argument for both, but I will say Andersen just because he contributed more over the course of the playoffs. Sorry, that was a really long-winded answer.
No, it's fair. You're the hockey man. But my take on it, I think it's really hard to compare the two when Andersen did have basically all the starts in the playoffs over Bussey until he got hurt and Bussey took over to finish off the series. But like my mindset, comparing the two, like just for the finals, I think Bussey had a better outings, I guess, for a series, because Andersen was giving up around 4 goals per game, and Bussey came in just stopping the incredible
Vegas
offensive players, and finishing out the series with a 3-1.
Yeah, they gave him loss. They gave him loss for game 3, but he played,
right.
He only gave the 1 goal in 2. It's double overtime.
Right, exactly.
If I were the scorekeeper, if I was making the rule on how they scorekeep it, I would not give him that loss. But that's the way it's written.
Right. Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's close. Andersen obviously got them there, and Bussey finished it off, which both are impressive in their own right. And I think it's also a testament to having 2 starting capable or starting caliber goaltenders in the NHL going into a playoff run. We've seen all the way dating back to the Blues in 2019. You have a goaltender who's played the majority, if not every playoff game for the eventual Stanley Cup champion. You have the Blues in 2019, Vasilevsky for the Lightning the next 2 years. Then you had who was the goalie for Colorado in 2022? Can't remember, but anyways, might have been Darcy Kemper. Anyways, 2023, Adin Hill with Vegas, and you have Bobrovsky back-to-back years, and finally you have this split goaltender system that works, and it's something that we're seeing become a lot more prevalent in the NHL, especially during the regular season, and that goalies will only play 40 games in a regular season. They'll only play 44 games in a regular season just for, wear and tear. So I think seeing that kind of goaltender strategy where you can have them play together is really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's do one more little discussion about the Hurricanes before we move on to the losers. It makes me happy to say.
I bet.
Yeah, it does. But anyways, from being the number 1 overall pick in 2010 by the Edmonton Oilers to being written off by several teams throughout the course of his career, ending up with the New Jersey Devils, winning a Conn Smythe trophy, or not Conn Smythe trophy, sorry, Hart Trophy for league MVP, to then being a healthy scratch, to then coming to Carolina and finishing second in Conn Smythe voting while clinching his first Stanley Cup. It's an unorthodox career. It's a wild one to follow. 16 years in for Taylor Hall, he's finally a Stanley Cup champion. Is this? Do you think it's enough to put him over the hump to be a for sure Hall of Famer at the end of his career?
I really don't think he's done enough. Only because what I've researched, like these like typical Hall of Fame like stats, you're getting 1,000+ points. Like he was around 800. They're also getting like between 4 to 500 goals, while he's around 300. But it does really help as a first overall pick to finally win a Stanley Cup. But I mean, if he played one more season, especially with the Hurricanes, I think that would get him over the hump. But just overall stats, I really don't think he's there.
Yeah, and I think that's the logical take. And Taylor Hall will be back. He will be back for the Hurricanes, not going anywhere. But I think it's like I said, an unorthodox career, in that you're right that he doesn't have the stats that match a Hall of Fame profile. But you look at some of the players who have made the Hall of Fame, and Taylor Hall at his best is just as good, if not better, than the majority of them. He is a heart-winning season in New Jersey. I remember just like, this guy is incredible. Where did this come from? And then he was gone again. It's his career is so sporadic, and I think I want to see him make the Hall of Fame. I don't know. Growing up, I really liked Taylor Hall. I don't know what it was about him. I just like the way that he, plays the game. I think he's so skillful with the puck. But yeah, so I'd like to see him get into the Hall of Fame. I think right now I would agree with you. I don't think he's done quite enough, but that Hart Trophy and Stanley Cup, they're compelling to make me want to say yes. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead.
Next season. Show off again next season. We'll put you in.
That's right. Hey, we both said we think that they're favorites to win again next season. So
right.
He gets 2 cups, he's in. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the Vegas Golden Knights, because it was a whirlwind of a final 2.5, 3 months of the season to them. What changed for Vegas over the course of this series? We saw coming into the Stanley Cup final, they swept Colorado in the Western Conference Finals, and they not just swept them, they handled them mercilessly. Yeah. They get up in the Stanley Cup Finals 2-1, and then lose 3 straight games to lose the finals. What changed for them? What happened? What went wrong?
I mean, the 2 games they won, they came back from a good deficit to win both of those games. But it just didn't seem like they had the firepower to be able to do that again. Like for the first 4 games, it seemed like, someone had a good lead. They're not gonna the other team's gonna come back. But the next 3 games, they just didn't have that spark like we saw in the beginning of the series. The series looked really great in the beginning, just watching the comebacks, but yeah, it just didn't seem like they had it in them. And another point to bring, Bussy was brought in after their second win, or no, during their second win, but it just seemed like he shut them down after.
Yeah, and I think really what it comes down to is John Tortorella made line changes after that Game 2 loss that I think kind of bit them in the butt, in the sense that they got up 4-0 in Game 3, gave up that lead, but still ended up winning the game. And I think that was enough to give John Tortorella the confidence in the lines that he had changed to run with that for the rest of the playoffs. And he's a very stubborn personality, so I don't think he was going to change that lineup again. But you had Dorofeev, Eichel, and Barbashev on a line. You had Marner playing with Howden and William Karlsson, and obviously, William Karlsson ended up breaking his wrist in Game 4 and wasn't able to play, or not Game 4, Game 5, and wasn't able to play in Game 6. So that was a loss, and they would have had to change up the lines anyways. But I think, especially offensively, that was where they started to struggle the most, was when Tortorella changed up those lines, and I think that is a mistake that they'll look back on and probably regret. And I think also, whether it's their own fault or not, they run 5 defensemen. They don't have the skill at the back of their defense to run, a rotation of 6 D-men that we see a lot in Stanley Cup winning teams. And I think that kind of got to them in the end, where you see that in Game 2, Braden McNabb gets hurt. He ends up coming back to play the series, but he wasn't as quick as he had been. And Hanifin appeared to be hurt, and these players are just getting banged up throughout the course of the season in the playoffs, playing this kind of rotation, and that wore them down in the end. And they continued to give up several, goal after goal after goal in these games, and they would just have these moments where they completely lost it, where they gave up 3 goals in 30 seconds in Game 3. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I think it was more mismanagement of the team on the coaching end in the final few games. Yeah, and then so next question, speaking of those lines and those forwards, Mitch Marner had a legendary Game 3 performance. He had 4 points in the second period, posted a natural hat trick in the quickest time in Stanley Cup Finals history. That's an unbelievable stat. He beat Rocky Richard for that stat. Pretty notable. He's got a trophy named after him. So that's an impressive record to break. And then for the final 3 games of the series, it felt like Mitch Marner did nothing. And I don't know where he went. It was like Mitch Marner took a flight back to Toronto after Game 3 and wasn't playing for the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't know what happened. What do you think might have happened there?
I don't think it was much of Mitch Marner, maybe just like going downhill after Game 3, but I think Carolina during Game 3 might have just mishandled him while playing defense, and I think they really stepped it up on defense and added Bussy. But that's my take on it.
No, I think that's a really good point, because I think Jalen Chatfield stepped up in those final few games for Carolina. And obviously, Slavin and Keandre Miller played incredible in Game 6. I mean, you got to have everyone on the defensive side play incredible. It's not just the goalie getting a shutout, it's the defense as a whole. But I think you make a good point there that the defense really did step up in those final few games. So final point about the Vegas Golden Knights. We know that John Tortorella will not be rejoining the team next season. He's made that fairly apparent. Now things can change, and I don't know if I'd necessarily be surprised to see that he signs an extension there after the success that he saw. But let's say right now we're assuming that they're going to lose John Tortorella. Where do they stand going into next season? Can Vegas run it back? Do they need to make any changes in a Pacific Division that looks to maybe get better next year?
Go find yourself another coach. I mean, they've had several coaches since entering the NHL in 2017. They have had 4 after Tortorella, and I guess you just got to keep digging for a better coach. But other than that, like, it seemed like a miracle season for or miracle playoffs for them this season, and I really don't think they're gonna make it back to the finals next season.
Yeah, I agree. It didn't. Looking back on it now, when it was happening, it was like, man, this team is incredible. But I think looking back on it now, it's kind of like, well, maybe they weren't as good as we saw in the regular season. They were really poor in those final 3 games of the Cup final. Again, were really poor.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna have to look for a new coach. I heard Bruce Cassidy's looking for a job, so maybe they'll look that direction.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not. But Cup Finals. Carolina Hurricanes, your Stanley Cup champions for the first time in 20 years. Casey, you went 0 for 2. Spurs and Golden Knights. Hey, and I was rooting against you all the way on the Golden Knights.
This will be my worst stint. I'm telling you, I'm going to come back better than ever for the next World Series or series game.
For next,
Yeah.
Baseball is a little bit more, unpredictable. So we'll see.
Go Dodgers!
Go Dodgers! Well, no, not tonight. Not tonight. They've already started the game. Go Rays. Anyways, we got a little bit of time to spare, so I'm going to go ahead and ask one more NHL question as we, kind of. Sorry, you're going to have to talk about this. You got to talk about it.
Okay. Whatever.
Since we go into the off season. All right, the San Jose Sharks, Macklin Celebrini at the helm. They have the 2nd overall pick in the NHL draft. They finished the best team in the West to not make the playoffs. Are they poised to potentially be the top team in the Pacific Division next year? And if they are, how far away? Well, if they are, they would be. But if they're not, how far away are they from Stanley Cup contention? Casey, do you want me to answer first, or do you want to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right,
I have very little information, but I'll just add to it.
All right. So I mean, my main 2 words are Macklin and Celebrini, because what he's doing at 19 years old is just incredible. We saw. I don't want to draw. Yeah, I do want to draw the comparison. I'm going to be honest. We saw Sidney Crosby do this at the beginning of his career, where he came into Pittsburgh and do this. And I think Macklin Celebrini is doing it at even maybe a higher level to start his career. And you look at the young offensive talent around him, mainly in Will Smith. I think that they need to kind of sort out goaltending. I don't think they quite have a Cup caliber goaltender. Obviously, they need defense. Again, Darren Radish could be someone to look at for them. And there's other defensemen in this year's free agency class. So to answer my own question, I don't think that the Sharks are ready to be the best team in the Pacific Division. However, I don't think they're that far off. I think give them 2 or 3 years and they're going to begin to be perennial Cup contenders. Looks like we've had a little bit of technical difficulties and we've lost Casey. So we're going to take a quick pause and then we'll be right back to see if Casey wants to answer this question. All right, y'all, we are back from our technical difficulties. Casey, I don't know if you care to admit what just happened, but if you want to, you're welcome to.
My computer died.
Yeah.
Glitch, black screen. I was like, what did I do? I thought I exploded because my computer was acting up like earlier. I was like, I don't know. What did USF do to it?
Yeah. Well, nice little mid-show computer dying. And you bailed yourself out. You don't got to answer the Sharks question now. So whatever I say goes about the Sharks. You don't get to
Larkin to the Sharks.
Dude, that's a good point. You want to go into that? Wait, no, let's not do that for the sake of time.
I don't like too much. That's what I was just gonna say. Larkin to the Sharks.
Yeah, no, I like that. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on. We've seen a few games in group stage of the World Cup now. Started this past Thursday. We are recording on Monday, so we're 5 days in now to the World Cup. And let's just do a little recap. As of this morning, as of Monday the 15th morning, Casey, you are tied with Colin for number 1 in our World Cup little challenge draft that we did. I am in third, 1 point behind at 10. So live, if I'm doing it right, and I may be wrong, live, I think Colin and I are tied for second with 12 points. And you might be up to 14 now.
I'm up to 14 now, yep.
You're up to 14, and there's a game currently going now. So you're going to have at least 15 by the end of the night.
Right.
You're starting to run away with it, but hey, plenty of World Cup to go. We're really excited.
Exactly.
If you didn't check out our draft, go check it out because that was my favorite segment so far. I had a lot of fun doing that. I think Colin had a great time doing it too. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. We had a lot of fun, and I think it'll be fun to follow along for the next month until the World Cup is done. But Casey, I want to ask you, we're only a few days in, so I don't want to jump to too many conclusions, but who has been the most surprising team as of yet in the World Cup for you?
For me, I think it's Cape Verde. Like watching them against Spain, like biggest favorites to win the whole thing. Shut them down. I mean, it might have been because Yamal and Nico Williams were out for most of the game, but they held their own. I mean, the goalkeeper, phenomenal against them. Yeah, and they showed some short stints, made it look like they were gonna snatch a goal from Spain, but they just weren't able to succeed. But still, the defense and tying it up 0-0, it looked great to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you hadn't said it, I was going to say it. I don't know if you saw that goaltender for Cape Verde. He had 50,000 followers on Instagram before the game, and it's kind of become a trend now to be following him. But he is up to, last time I checked, over 3 million followers on Instagram in the span of just the several hours since that game finished.
Dude, I thought you were going to say like 900K.
No, 3 million. Over 3 million. I'll do a quick check. If I still have it, to see where he's at now. He is at 4.8 million followers now on Instagram. He was at 50,000 this morning. That's insane. But anyways, I just thought that was a really cool.
You do that against Spain, you gotta get the followers, bro.
And this is why the World Cup is great, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's amazing to watch.
All right, so for me, my most surprising team, and I don't want to say that this team is surprising in the sense that nobody had any expectations for them, because I think people did, but it's kind of whether or not that this team's expectations were misplaced or not. And I think that Japan had a particularly impressive showing against the Netherlands. I think this was their big test of a game. And there's some hype around Japan. Might they be better than people think? And they come out there and they are able to draw with the Netherlands, who they themselves are not too shabby. So I think for Japan, that's really impressive. You have the 1 point for each, and suddenly you look at Japan. If they can win differential, they might be able to win the group over the Netherlands and set themselves up well going into the knockout stage. So I think for me, Japan, the speed with which they play, they've been my most surprising outside of Cape Verde. But you already stole that from me.
My bad. So do you want to answer the next question with who do you think is the most disappointing team in the series?
Well, I had two ready to go. So if you have two ready to go.
No, go ahead.
All right. So I can take whoever. Cool. All right. My most disappointing team. I'm going to go on the opposite side. What was that from Spain today? Are we serious? I drafted them, and I believed in them. With my first round, the second overall pick, I took Spain, and I said when I drafted them, that is a free 9 points because they are that good. And they just this is the first time Cape Verde's ever been in the World Cup, and they drew. They
got their first points.
Are we serious? Lamine, step up, bro. I got a game to win.
If he could step, dude.
If he could step. Oh my gosh.
They put him in the last 10 minutes.
Me winning this World Cup game is more important than Spain winning the World Cup. But I'm gonna need them to get it together, because that
Yeah.
that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, really Casey, your turn. Who's your most disappointing?
Even though it was a really fun game to watch, that was pretty hard to watch Spain just tied up like that. But yeah, for my most disappointing team, I would have went with the team from Spain, but yeah, I would go with Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
They tied it up with Egypt, and they were 10th ranked in the world, while Egypt was only ranked 29th.
Yeah.
And just to see a 1-1 tie like that, and a group that has been shown to create a lot of goals, it was really disappointing to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's been, quite a few upsets really so far. I think one more just for the sake of it to throw out there that I think has been or was disappointing in their first game. I think there was a lot of buzz around, hey, Turkey could win this group with the USA, and then they lost 2-0 to Australia. And so you see Turkey is, what are they, 29th? Yeah, 26th in the world, excuse me. 26th in the world in the FIFA rankings, whereas they played Australia, and Australia's at the 22nd now. But before the game, it was 22nd and 27th. So maybe they weren't as far off as I thought. But anyways, there was a lot of buzz around Turkey being able to be, a team that could win this group with the United States. And I thought that they were a little disappointing. I didn't get to watch the game because it was so late at night, but watching the highlights back, I didn't think they were all that impressive.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no, I watched the whole game. I was up till 3 that night. But my bad. But yeah, no, like what you said, they just didn't seem that impressive with all the buzz they've had.
Yeah. But all right, let's talk about, we haven't talked about this team yet but it's the team that we're all rooting for.
Yes.
United States of America. 4-1 beatdown of Paraguay in California on Friday night. What a game to begin the World Cup for.
Statement game for the rest of us.
Absolute statement game. And not that Paraguay is some elite competition. They didn't beat England or they didn't beat Spain. But, 4-1 is significant regardless of who you play. I think for them to come in and show that they have no nerves, that they're here to compete, they want to defend on their home soil. And yeah, good for the USA. I'm looking forward to them for them going forward. What about you, Casey?
Yeah, no, they looked really good watching the whole game against Paraguay. And I mean, even if they didn't beat teams like Spain or England, like they still had good competition, beating both Brazil and Argentina in their respective cup, and with USA basically manhandling them. I can't wait to see how they do against other teams, especially in the knockout stage, because they're definitely making the knockout. Knockout stage.
And that's the big thing. That's why I wanted to bring up Turkey earlier, because for the United States, that means that loss means a lot, because you now have +3 goal differential. If you beat or even draw Australia, you've set yourself up in a great spot to not only make the knockout stage, but outright win your group.
Right, exactly.
If you go 3-0 in the group, even, you're setting yourself up so well in the knockout stage in terms of confidence. And I think, right now, I don't want to get my hopes up too much. I'm not going to claim the US is going to win the World Cup, because we all know that's not true. But if they can go and win, we all can hope. But if they can go and win one, if they can win in the round of 64, if they can win in the round of 32, I don't want to say win the quarterfinal, because I don't think it's possible. But do you believe in miracles? Why not?
We shall see. We definitely shall see. But yeah, I think they can make a run through the playoffs, and it'll be very fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I'm I'm really looking forward to watching the remainder of this World Cup. It's always such a great tournament to watch, and it's so fun that it's here in the United States. Not that anyone can go because it's so expensive, but that's aside from the point. I digress. But yeah, you have anything else on the World Cup?
I honestly think like everyone's still pretty evenly matched with the games we've been watching. Like,
no, yeah.
They've been really fun games to watch, and I think I've watched all of them except for the Scotland game, which is weird because I watched the 12 a.m. game and the 6 p.m. game, but I didn't watch the 9 p.m. game. I don't know.
Well, that's when the NBA Finals were on, wasn't it?
Yes, and I was definitely watching the NBA Finals, not Love Island. Right.
All right. Dude, you crack me up. All right. Yeah, World Cup, it's exciting. You know, all these teams have played at most one game, so there's a long way to go, but it's looking really fun to start. Anyways, other than that, that is all that we have for this show today. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate it if you made it this far along in the video. And if you did, we want to ask you to consider liking and subscribing to the channel because we're trying to grow a little bit. And yeah, we would appreciate that. We look forward to getting Colin back from Ireland next week and getting some of his takes on the World Cup because admittedly he knows the most about soccer, aka football, than both of us combined. But make sure that you stay tuned on our Instagram account. It is under the same name as this channel at 300 Section Sports Podcast for continual content throughout the week in reels and posts. And we will be back for our next episode in a week on Monday. Monday next week is the 22nd. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And we will see you all then. Anything else, Casey?
Dodgers are losing 3-0.
Oh, bottom the second. 3-0 Rays. Go Rays all the way.
I did predict that though.
All right, we're gonna leave it on a high note for Colin and I here. On that note, we are gonna sign off before the Dodgers hit a 3-run bomb to tie it up. See you later, Casey.
Bye,
Thank
Kyle
you all
Tucker.
for watching. That's right. And we will see you all next week. Goodbye, everybody.